I never thought I would be telling this story, but here I am. For 15 years I built my entire life around my family. My wife Natalie and our daughter Sophia were my world, my reason for waking up every morning and working hard. I sacrificed everything for them. Then one day I discovered Natalie was having an affair with my close friend. When I was at my lowest point, my own daughter called me a pathetic loser and walked out. Now months later, they are both standing at my doorstep, desperate and begging to come back. If you are watching this now, let me know where you are from in the comments, and hit that subscribe button to hear my story of betrayal, heartbreak, and finding my own worth. I grew up in a working-class neighborhood on the south side of Chicago. My parents worked multiple jobs to keep food on the table, and from an early age I knew education would be my ticket to a better life. Through a combination of scholarships and part-time jobs, I managed to put myself through college, becoming the first in my family to earn a degree. It was during my junior year that I met Natalie. We were both 22, attending a mutual friend's birthday party. She walked into the room wearing a blue dress that matched her eyes, and I was immediately captivated. Natalie was studying art history, passionate about everything that I knew nothing about. She was spontaneous, creative, and full of life. We were opposites in many ways, but something just clicked between us. Our romance moved quickly. Within 6 months, we were inseparable. She brought color and excitement to my structured world, and I offered stability and security that she claimed to appreciate. After dating for just over a year, I proposed on a boat in Lake Michigan at sunset. When she said yes, I felt like the luckiest man alive. We married in a small ceremony, surrounded by friends and family, promising to love each other forever. After graduation, I landed an entry-level position at a technology firm as an IT specialist. The hours were long and the work was demanding, but I was determined to build a good life for us. Natalie took a job at a local gallery, though her salary was modest. We lived in a tiny apartment, saving every penny we could. Our lives changed forever when Natalie told me she was pregnant. I still remember the mix of terror and joy I felt pacing around our apartment all night, making plans and promises to be the best father possible. When Sophia was born, holding that tiny bundle in my arms, I made a silent vow that she would never know the financial struggles I had experienced growing up. I worked harder than ever, taking on additional projects and certifications to advance my career. By the time Sophia was 5, we had saved enough for a down payment on a modest house in a good school district. It was nothing fancy, but it had 3 bedrooms, a backyard with a swing set, and a kitchen where we gathered for family dinners. We painted each room together, Natalie adding her artistic touches to make it feel like home. Our family life revolved around simple traditions. Sunday pancake breakfasts with Sophia helping to mix the batter. Summer vacations driving to Lake Michigan. Christmas mornings with hot chocolate and matching pajamas. Birthdays celebrated with homemade cakes, no matter how lopsided they turned out. I thought we were building something special and lasting. As the years passed, I noticed subtle changes. Natalie became increasingly critical of my predictable routines. The traits she once found endearing, my reliability and steadfastness, now seemed to irritate her. She started taking more art classes in the evenings, saying she needed to rediscover herself beyond being just a wife and mother. Meanwhile, Sophia entered her teenage years and became moody and distant. When I would try to connect with her, asking about school or friends, she would roll her eyes or give one-word answers. I told myself this was normal teenage behavior, that we would weather this phase like all the others. In response, I just worked harder. I received a promotion to senior systems manager, which came with a significant pay increase but also more responsibilities. I thought providing more financially would make them happy. I bought Natalie the studio space she had always wanted for her painting. I saved for Sophia's college fund and bought her the latest phone and computer for her studies. During this time, my college friend Jackson re-entered our lives. He had just gone through a bitter divorce and needed support. I invited him over for dinner regularly, remembering how we had been there for each other during tough times in college. Jackson was everything. I was not outgoing, adventurous with endless stories about his travels and business ventures. Sophia seemed impressed by his tales, and Natalie always seemed more animated when he was around. I was too blind to see what was happening right in front of me. I was so focused on being the provider that I missed the warning signs. The subtle looks between them, the inside jokes, the way conversations would suddenly stop when I entered a room. I trusted them both completely, never imagining they would betray me. Our 15-year wedding anniversary should have been a celebration. I had made reservations at an expensive restaurant downtown, the same place where we had celebrated our first anniversary. I left work early to pick up flowers and her favorite chocolates, excited to surprise her. When I got home, the house was quiet. Natalie's car was in the driveway, but she did not answer when I called her name. I went upstairs to our bedroom and found her phone on the nightstand buzzing with incoming messages. I had never been the type to check her phone, but something made me look at the screen. What I saw shattered my world in an instant. Multiple messages from Jackson, intimate and explicit. References to their times together while I was at work. Plans for their future. The evidence was undeniable and overwhelming. I sat on the edge of the bed reading through months of their conversations, each message like a knife twisting deeper. When Natalie finally came home, she found me still sitting there, her unlocked phone in my hand. She did not even try to deny it. How long, I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. 6 months, she replied coldly, crossing her arms. There was no remorse in her voice, no tears, no apologies. Why? I managed to ask, though I was not sure I wanted to hear the answer. I fell out of love with you years ago, Quincy, she said with a sigh, as if explaining something obvious to a child. You became so boring, so predictable. All you care about is work and providing. Jackson makes me feel alive again. Her words cut deeper than the affair itself. 15 years of marriage dismissed so casually. Everything I had built my life around crumbling in minutes. I am leaving you, she continued. Jackson and I want to be together properly. I was going to tell you after Sophia finished this school year, but now that you know. She began packing a suitcase as I sat there stunned into silence. The casual way she moved around our bedroom selecting her belongings was surreal. This woman who had been my partner, the mother of my child, now a cold stranger. What about Sophia? I finally asked. What about our daughter? She is 16 now, old enough to understand these things happen, Natalie said dismissively. I will explain everything to her when she gets home from school. But I could not let Natalie control that narrative. When Sophia came home, I asked to speak with her privately. With my heart in pieces, I tried to explain the situation as gently as possible. I did not want to demonize her mother despite my pain. Sophia's reaction was not what I expected. Instead of being upset about the affair or the impending divorce, she lashed out at me. This is all your fault, she screamed, her face flushed with anger. You were never around. Always working, always boring. Mom deserves someone who makes her happy. I tried to reason with her to explain that relationships are complex, that I had been working to give her and her mother a good life. But she was not interested in my perspective. You are just a pathetic loser, she spat, the words hitting me like physical blows. Jackson is successful and fun and actually lives his life. No wonder Mom chose him. That night, both Natalie and Sophia packed their things and left. They moved into Jackson's downtown apartment the very next day. I found myself alone in our family home, surrounded by photographs of happier times, wondering where I had gone so wrong. The weeks that followed were the darkest of my life. I went through the motions at work, barely functioning, nearly losing my job after missing deadlines and showing up late. I lost 20 pounds because I could not bring myself to eat. Sleep became an elusive luxury, replaced by endless nights, replaying every moment of my marriage, searching for the exact point where things began to fall apart. Friends who I thought would support me took sides or disappeared entirely. Many had been mutual friends with Natalie and me, and they chose her narrative over mine. I heard rumors that I had been controlling, or neglectful stories Natalie spread to justify her actions. The isolation compounded my depression. When the divorce papers arrived, Natalie was demanding half of everything, including the house I had worked so hard to pay for. She wanted alimony despite having a job and living with Jackson. Her lawyer painted me as the villain, claiming emotional abandonment. The legal battle drained what little energy I had left. I tried reaching out to Sophia multiple times. I sent texts asking how she was doing, if she needed anything for school, telling her I loved her no matter what. Most went unanswered. The few responses were cold and dismissive. "I am fine. Stop asking. I do not need anything from you." Then came the final blow. I learned through my lawyer that Natalie, Jackson, and Sophia were planning to move to another state. Jackson had received a business opportunity in California, and they would be leaving as soon as the divorce was finalized. Not only had I lost my family, but now my daughter would be thousands of miles away. The morning I found out about their planned move, I had a complete breakdown. Sitting in my car in the company parking lot, I could not stop shaking. My chest felt tight, and I could not catch my breath. A coworker found me and called for help. The doctor at the urgent care center told me I had experienced a severe panic attack and recommended I take leave from work. That night, in desperation, I tried calling Sophia again. The call went straight to voicemail. When I checked social media, I discovered she had blocked me. Seeing photos of her, Natalie, and Jackson together looking happy as they planned their new life in California broke something inside me. In that moment, I truly believed I had lost everything that mattered. For 3 days, I did not leave my bedroom. Dirty plates piled up on the nightstand. Unwashed clothes littered the floor. The house that had once been my pride now felt like a mausoleum of failed dreams. I ignored calls from work, from my lawyer, from the few friends who still checked in. What was the point of fighting anymore? Then an unexpected call came through. My brother Thomas, who I had drifted apart from years ago due to a petty argument neither of us could even remember clearly. Somehow he had heard about my situation. "You sound like hell," were his first words when I answered. "Thanks for the observation," I replied bitterly. "Listen, Quincy, I am not calling to give you pity. I am calling because I have been exactly where you are. When Maria left me, I thought my life was over too. I had almost forgotten about his divorce 5 years earlier. We had been so disconnected that I barely knew the details." "How did you get through it?" I asked, a small spark of hope igniting. "Not by laying in bed feeling sorry for myself, that is for sure," he said bluntly. "Get showered, get dressed. I am coming over in an hour." No arguments. Thomas arrived with groceries, cleaning supplies, and a no-nonsense attitude. He opened windows, threw out trash, and literally pulled me into the shower. Over a simple meal of scrambled eggs and toast, the first real food I had eaten in days, he gave me the hard truth I needed to hear. Natalie did not just wake up one day and decide to have an affair. Your marriage had problems that both of you ignored. That does not excuse what she did, but you need to be honest about your part in this. His words stung, but they also forced me to reflect. Had I been emotionally absent while physically present? Had I mistaken providing financially for true partnership? The next day, Thomas went with me to meet my lawyer, a woman named Diana, who had been trying to reach me for days. She laid out my options clearly. "You have been the primary breadwinner. You paid for the house. You have documented evidence of the affair. You are in a much stronger position than you realize, Quincy. But you have to fight for yourself because no one else will." That afternoon, Thomas took me to his support group for divorced men. Sitting in a community center listening to strangers share stories so similar to mine was oddly comforting. I was not alone. I was not the first man to be betrayed, to lose his family, to question his worth. Some of these men had rebuilt their lives, found new relationships, repaired damaged bonds with their children. For the first time since discovering the affair, I felt a glimmer of hope. The pivotal moment came late one night, about 2 weeks after Thomas re-entered my life. I was going through old photos, torturing myself with images of happier times, a family vacation to Florida, Sophia's 10th birthday party, Natalie and me on our 10th anniversary. I found myself crying again, the familiar wave of self-pity washing over me. Then something shifted. Looking at those photos, I realized I had been a good husband and father. I had shown up every day. I had loved them both with everything I had. Their betrayal revealed their character, not mine. I went to my desk and wrote a letter to myself, pouring out all my pain, my regrets, my fears. Then I wrote about the man I wanted to become. Not someone desperate to win back those who had discarded him, but a man who valued himself enough to demand respect. A man who had been knocked down but refused to stay there. A man who could find happiness on his own terms. The transformation did not happen overnight. There were still days when grief overwhelmed me. But slowly I began to rebuild. First came the divorce proceedings. Instead of agreeing to everything just to get it over with, I stood firm. I kept the house that I had paid for. I offered fair child support for Sophia but refused the excessive alimony Natalie demanded. When her lawyer tried to use my mental health struggles against me, I calmly presented documentation from my therapist showing I was actively working on my well-being. Therapy became a lifeline. My therapist helped me recognize patterns of emotional manipulation in my marriage that I had been blind to. I learned that my value did not come from what I could provide or what others thought of me. I began to set boundaries not just with Natalie but with everyone in my life. At work, I returned with renewed focus. The company had been understanding about my leave, and I repaid that trust by throwing myself into a major system upgrade project. My supervisor noticed the change, commenting that I seemed more confident, more willing to speak up in meetings and offer innovative solutions. The house that had felt like a prison of memories became a project. I repainted every room, choosing colors I liked rather than compromising as I always had before. I converted Natalie's art studio into a home gym. Sophia's bedroom remained untouched at first, a shrine to my hope that she might return. But eventually I packed her things carefully into labeled boxes stored in the attic. The room became my home office where I started a technology consulting side business. 6 months after the separation, I even began dating again. Nothing serious at first, just coffee or dinner with women I met through a dating app or friends' introductions. Most of these connections did not lead anywhere, but they helped me remember how to have conversations that did not revolve around my failed marriage. Then I met Amanda, a pediatric nurse with a quick wit and kind eyes. Unlike Natalie, she valued the very things about me that I had been criticized for my reliability and commitment. She had her own career, her own life, and did not need me to complete her. We took things slowly, both carrying baggage from past relationships but enjoying the process of getting to know each other. For the first time in a long time, I felt like myself again. Not just surviving, but beginning to thrive. It was almost exactly 8 months after Natalie and Sophia had left when the unexpected knock came at my front door. It was a Sunday morning, and I had just returned from a bike ride, a new hobby I had taken up as part of my fitness journey. When I opened the door, I almost did not recognize them. Natalie, usually so put together, looked disheveled, her hair dull dark circles under her eyes. Beside her stood Sophia, taller than I remembered her expression, a mixture of defiance and shame. "Quincy," Natalie said, her voice breaking. "Can we come in, please? We need to talk." I hesitated, feeling a surge of emotions I thought I had processed. Anger, hurt, confusion, and underneath it all, a stubborn thread of love that refused to die completely. Finally, I stepped aside, letting them enter the home they had abandoned. They noticed the changes immediately. The new furniture, the different wall colors, the absence of family photos that had once lined the hallway. This was no longer their home, and the realization showed on their faces. We sat in the living room, an uncomfortable silence hanging between us, until Natalie finally spoke. "Jackson left us," she said, staring at her hands twisting in her lap. He lost all our money in a bad investment. When I confronted him, he got angry, said terrible things. He told us to get out. We have been staying in a motel for the past week while I figured out what to do. I listened without interrupting, noting that she did not apologize, did not acknowledge the irony of her situation. Natalie had always struggled to admit when she was wrong. "The California plan fell through months ago," she continued. "Jackson's business deal was just another one of his empty promises. I should have seen it sooner." Sophia had remained silent, but now she looked up, meeting my eyes for the first time. "I missed you, Dad," she said, her voice small. "I am so sorry for what I said, for calling you those things. Jackson was not who I thought he was. He was fun at first, but then he started drinking a lot, getting angry all the time." Her words were like a balm on an old wound, healing but still painful to touch. "The last few months have been really hard," she continued, tears filling her eyes. "I kept thinking about all the times you were there for me, all the things you did that I took for granted. I was horrible to you, and you did not deserve that." Natalie reached for my hand, then her touch unfamiliar after so many months. "We want to come home, Quincy," she said, desperation clear in her voice. "We made a terrible mistake. You were always the good one, the steady one. I see that now. We can be a family again. I know I can make you happy if you just give me another chance. Sophia nodded eagerly. I could move back into my old room. Everything could go back to normal. I looked at them both, these two people I had loved more than anything. For a moment I imagined saying yes, returning to the life I had once believed was perfect. The temptation was powerful, a siren call to the familiar. But as I sat there, I realized something important. I was not the same man they had left. Their betrayal had broken me, yes, but I had rebuilt myself into someone stronger, someone who valued himself more than I ever had before. I cannot do that, I said, finally, my voice gentle but firm. I am sorry, but we cannot go backward. Their faces fell in unison, shock and disappointment, replacing hope. I will help you, I continued. I can loan you enough money to secure an apartment, Natalie. And Sophia, I have been continuing to fund your college account. That money is still there for you when you graduate. It is in a trust now, so it will go directly to your education. But we want to come home. Natalie insisted, tears streaming down her face now. Do not you still love us? The question hung in the air between us. Did I still love them? Yes, in ways I would never fully be able to explain or escape, but love was no longer enough. I will always care about you both, I said carefully. Sophia, you are my daughter, and nothing will ever change that. I want to rebuild our relationship, but it needs to be different, healthier, based on mutual respect. I turned to Natalie, seeing for the first time how lost she looked. And Natalie, what we had is gone. You made your choice 8 months ago. I have made mine now. I have started a new life, and I am seeing someone who values me for who I am. The revelation hit her hard. Perhaps she had never imagined I could move on, that I would always be waiting in the wings if her new life did not work out. Where are we supposed to go? She asked, anger mixing with her desperation now. I will help you get on your feet, I repeated. But not here. Not like this. After they left with arrangements made to transfer some money and help them find an apartment, I sat alone in my living room feeling strangely peaceful. The encounter I had feared for months had come and gone, and I had remained true to myself. The weeks that followed brought changes I could not have predicted. Sophia began visiting regularly, our relationship slowly mending, as we learned to communicate honestly. She told me more about the difficult months with Jackson, how the excitement had quickly faded, revealing his true character. These conversations were painful but necessary, laying the groundwork for a more authentic father-daughter bond. Natalie found a job at a local gallery and eventually started dating again. Our interactions became civil, focused on Sophia's well-being rather than our past. Sometimes I caught glimpses of regret in her eyes, but we both knew some bridges could not be rebuilt once burned. My relationship with Amanda continued to deepen. She met Sophia after a few months. An awkward but ultimately successful dinner that ended with tentative plans for a movie night. Amanda never tried to replace Natalie or become a stepmother figure, instead forming her own unique connection with my daughter. The pain did not disappear entirely. On quiet nights, I still sometimes wondered how things might have been different. But these moments became rarer as I embraced the life I had created from the ashes of betrayal. Looking back now, I can see how necessary that painful journey was. Sometimes we need to lose everything we thought we wanted to discover what we truly need. I learned that forgiveness does not mean returning to unhealthy relationships. That loving yourself enough to walk away is sometimes the greatest act of self-respect. If you are going through something similar right now, please remember that your worth is not determined by those who failed to value you. The darkest moments can lead to unexpected light if you keep moving forward. Have you ever had to make the difficult choice between forgiveness and self-protection? Share your experience in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more journeys of resilience and growth. Thank you for listening. And remember, sometimes the most important relationship to rebuild is the one with yourself.